Now, this is our continuous coverage of the Madina-Atomic Junction gas explosion. We know 7 lives have been lost and 136 injured. Roland Walker spoke to some affected persons.
So you could find that this is the current state. I know these pictures are gruesome, and we have to warn you as viewers, but you're from saying?
Godfrey Adakwa.
Godfrey, na and right now what ha na oya dieng ban saying na so who came.
Nami wo Firestone Junction so no. Nti ejinawan you say gas na explode. Nti we started say running. Nti running na me tofom. Ti me tofom na me say heat ni bi afa me ho. But at that time no nenye serious bi na me nti bibia nti no. Because so I say me too me kanti. Me too me kana me hu say me trim ha say hyehye ndi say na me trim hyehye ne de betima me bibia to me nti me nko hospital na me running fast na me ko kekele nti me ko du kekele no na doctor ni no krampo adwane doctor ni na obehwe no no so adwane afiri hospital on nurses nti e ko na omo me prepare pi e wo na me de ni serious nti doctor ne bai na me ka chere say like media ni dey share any serious be nti on hwe omo dey any serious no nti me to afia me hu say Benz na ma me hunam ahyase e pija na manim nyina ese na me frɛ doctor ni
honom na wenim no mama so ana
honom na manim no mama so be na enhunu
na enhunu say
enhunu nti e bo be 2:30 am no na omo transfer say enko 37 nti ambulance be fine or they call 37 on ko treat en to mu treat en on say Tuesday yembra back
37 na kwai omo de nyama ne go eguso ama no omo monro bi ana
omo ma mi some painkillers bi na omo chere edro ma mi se mi nkoto nti endra na mi koto edro no amen no nti
okay o de ma mi chere yetie for na so wo mo hweye no what he's saying is that he was about, let's say, 300 kilometers away from the incident site. It's a place just around here called Firestone, almost close to Zongo Junction, than more close to the Atomic Junction area. And then he saw the explosion, and in the milieu of all that, the crowd as well as the passers-by started running towards the Zongo Junction area. He also started running too. He fell. But he saw that after he got up, he experienced some burns around his side, and subsequently he started seeing some burns, not extremely to the gruesome nature with which the current burns are, but he went to the hospital, and after treatment, he saw that later in the night, he started experiencing all these swellings around the body and these abrasions, so to speak. Now, he had also been taken subsequently by an ambulance to the 37 military hospital. He had received treatment, had been told by the medical officers at the 37 military hospital to come back for treatment on Tuesday. And so that's the extent of the narration he's given us. But in Tisiano, what train Tuesday, Anna?
Me train Tuesday.
One kasa, Juma Bena, oh yeah, and now send a dear potin, and now we are a Jano Eshewo.
Me obi a me dimit anti danman ko ejuma nti na ye wo some pub bi wo enchen ase a ada ye wo pub bi wo enchen ase at that moment no na asa o mo bonyu mo nti ni ejirejina amanfo sa o ni ejirejina nti no the yan say around 7 o'clock near the explosion no. The explosion no. Any started see.
I 7 in your
any it is running. The running no. The 9 nipa hopi into me. Obi na crashing machine am tough from the way so solia no bin so aka no ato yes.
Yeah, one and yes, a man for the 30,000 abanasa and I say Jan and a share war.
Jano and a shame. Ijano because me feeling heat in say heat in a famine sound but me mobi de touch me say bia like me why bia but I didn't see anything
at that time. To call hospital no buy no who said
hospital no buy na me who say we no I am
Okay, so that's the extent of the injury that he suffered. Again, what's your name?
Adakwa Godfrey.
Godfred, and we've been speaking to Godfred, a first-hand victim of the incident, even though he had been about 300 kilometers away of the incident site.
Now, the Ministry of Roads and Highways is seeking to provide alternative routes for motorists. Roland Walker also spoke with Alhaji Abbas Awulu, Director, Department of Urban Roads.
The Honorable Minister of Roads and Highways, Honorable Kwesi Amakwata, directed us to look for alternative routes. And he also helped in negotiating with the University of Ghana authorities to allow us, at least for today, to use the roads from the TF area, that is for motorists coming from Hacho. They can do a right turn through the TF hostel area, which hitherto you had to use an e-card. Now you can drive through the TF area, go through the university roundabout, and connect back around the university, around the stadium, towards Tetekwashi. So invariably, that has given us a big relief, because otherwise, for traffic coming from Hacho, that would have been a very big tax to deal with. So now, at least motorists can drive through the University of Ghana for today without using the e-card, and they will connect back at the Stadium Road this morning and hopefully in the evening. We're hoping that by the close of day, at least the main Hacho Road towards the Atomic Junction will be open. Then we can revert back to the normal traffic usage of the area.
Meanwhile, the police say they are undertaking their investigations. What usually would you do to complement them as a department, or you're just mainly here because of the traffic situation?
We are here mainly because of the traffic situation. We're looking at the road issues. If there are some challenges on the road, we try and fix it as quickly as possible, especially for routes that we are using as diversion routes. So luckily, along those routes, we do not have any challenges today. So we can use them as diversion to a large extent without any hitches. We have placed enough diversion signs along the routes. So as you go along together with the police MTTD, we have placed those signs. If you stray out of the routes that I have mentioned and use other routes, then you have to use the e-card. We want to do this as serenely as possible so that we do not disrupt academic activities on campus. So that is why the authorities agreed that we use the TF route through the roundabout and to the stadium, and we can get out towards Tetekwashi.
Again, we're here with the director of the Department of Urban Roads, Engineer Awonu Abbas. I hope I pronounced the name correct. Awolu Abbas. But as we try to think out with the state of traffic, it means that the subsequent days, as the police intensify their investigations or the next few hours, it means that the diversions will have to be on for some time. How long do you envisage that will be?
We're hoping that by the close of day, we should be able to, if the police gives us the directives that the Hacho Road will be open, then fairly that should be fine. But for now, this morning, we are using part of the Hacho Road as a one-way towards the Atomic Junction, and then the complementary route is to use the University of Ghana area. In the evening, we expect to use it a one-way out towards Hacho. And hopefully, by the close of day, we shall review our position depending on what the Ghana Police Service directs us to do.
Well, thank you very much, Engineer Abbas. And we've been speaking to the Director for Urban Roads, Engineer Abbas.
Now, earlier, we spoke to Director of Operations of the Ghana Police Service, COP Dr. George Ekufu Dampare.
The Ghana Police Service have made their presence felt. We're told that several or tens of men have been put together and brought here to make sure that, one, they control traffic, but more so the site of the evidence, the site where the incident really happened, is indicative of how they need to protect and make sure that that evidence is protected. And so you can find that sections of the area have been cordoned off. Currently, you won't find traffic movement very smoothly, especially for those residents who are around Hacho and who have to come from areas around the Madina-Atomic Hills area, just making sure that if they have to get to work, then they have to get to work appropriately. But we'll be speaking to the Director of Research for the Police, MTTD, more importantly also speaking to Dr. George Dampare, and COP Dr. George Dampare is the Director of Operations, and we'll be speaking to him very soon. But he's here, and so I would want to pick his thoughts on one or two other issues, especially the preparations of the Ghana Police Service, particularly in making sure that they get the right men on the site, and then also getting the appropriate strategies for the event. Dr. Dampare, if you're ready, just let me have a word or two with you, and let's try to get what really the first information that the police have, first-hand information, as far as you get the incident and then the news as they trickled in. What are some of the initial things you picked up? I mean, those that you want to make public, though.
We haven't picked up anything yet. We are still investigating.
All right. And I see that you have brought in a lot more of your men. Any reasons why?
It's one, a crime scene. Secondly, it's a public order issue. So we need to bring the right people out here to come and manage the situation. This is exactly what we've done, because they are here to do two things: to manage the situation here in terms of crowd control and also traffic management.
If we take a lot of the incidental reports and the situational reports, as we will have it not only by the mainstream here but also on social media, we have varied accounts for which gives the police perhaps some conundrum, would you say?
What is important is that since we are investigating, we wish that everybody will allow the investigation to continue. And the investigation is a team made up of fire service, police, NADMO, and all the key stakeholders in the oil and gas industry. And at the end of the day, we pray that you will give us the time to do the work, and at the end of the investigation, share the report with the public. So for now, I wish that we will focus on that, whilst we try to protect life and property and ensure normalcy of life to the people in the affected community.
How many men did you deploy here?
Sufficient.
Sufficient enough. That's but as far as your operations are concerned and making sure that you bring some stability to the site, how are you managing that? Traffic flow, movement of people, and other immovable or movable people, so to speak.
That's why we've assessed the situation, and we have seen the need that the number of personnel that we need, and we brought them in place for both the movement of people, protection of life and property, and also for management of traffic. And I can assure you, as you could see, what we've seen is that we've done the processing of the scene to an appreciable level, working day and night for the past 2 days. And where we have finished processing, we have allowed traffic to flow. And the areas that we still think that there's work to be done, we are working on it. And like I said, where you stand now, it's initially used to be part of this crime scene. We have finished processing it. That's why I've given you that limited space to work. And thereafter, the place that we cannot access because the place is still being processed is being worked on. And also, we have opened traffic to one way in order to ease the possible congestion and the inconvenience that this situation will cause to the motoring public, considering the fact that today is Monday and we are in the rush hour.
But more so, I heard you speak about how there is the need to protect the crime scene, etc. Yesterday, we even had the vice president, a couple of ministers, MPs, and other dignitaries come here. It means that they perhaps have damaged some sections of the crime scene?
No, they came a day after the event, and at that time, the place that they happened to be, we've done all the work there. And at the end of the day, I think going forward, we'll keep doing things in a way that will help us come to a determination in terms of what actually happened. But they showed that they were allowed because we felt that their presence there would not disturb the work that we were doing.
On a personal level, we seem to be having a lot of some of these explosions very often. What do you make of it? You're a very learned man.
The important thing is that we need to do two things: pray and act.
Pray and act.
Yeah.
Okay. So what actions will be following next?
The police and the other security agencies, in respect of this, we are doing our bit. And like we keep telling everyone, anytime we are managing a disaster like this, there are 4 levels. The first level is to respond, and in this case, to fight the fire and protect life and property.
Inmates of the gas tanker whose leakage caused the Atomic Junction explosion on Saturday are at large. Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, Hassan Tampoli, says the police are on the lookout for the two for them to help with investigations. The explosion came about when the gas was set ablaze after it leaked into the atmosphere during a discharge. Mr. Tampoli also revealed the NPA had queried the Mansco gas filling station for not keeping the station according to NPA regulation. He was speaking exclusively to Joy News.
Preliminary investigations still underway, and Ghana Fire Service is leading the investigations. But the information that we have received at the scene of the accident is that there are two conflicting information. The first says that there was a problem with the pump during discharge when the bulk road vehicle was at the station to discharge the products into. Said that it's as a result of a problem with the breakaway coupling. Now, what we do know for sure is that the accident occurred when there was a discharge at the forecourt. Now, there's no dispute about that. In May, there was another explosion at the Gamco in Takoradi, also during discharge. In December 2016, there was gas explosion again at the trade fair site, in which about 9 people lost their lives, also during discharge. In Asokwa, there was also discharge error. There was another one in Suntreso, also in Kumasi, discharge error. Another occurred in Kokode, also in Kumasi, also attributed to discharge error. Now, what that tells me is that there is failure in training as far as the drivers and the mates are concerned. Normally, they are the ones that do the discharge. And the other thing is that when in the course of the discharge, they come to the realization that there is some leakage, the next best thing that they do is to take to their heels, instead of at the very least closing the valve and then calling for assistance in order for them to be able to take care of the error that has occurred.
Is that what happened here at Atomic?
As a matter of fact, that is the information that we have. As soon as they got wind of the fact that there was some leakage, they took to their heels and then started informing the people around to also take to their heels. So that is the preliminary information that we have received. So the gas was still leaking. Now, unlike petrol, which will be at the same spots waiting for a spark, gas will be traveling around looking for a spark in order to explode. So this is what happened, and the information that we have received was that there was a kebab seller across the street. So naturally, when the gas traveled, now we can't confirm whether that is the natural sequence of events or not, but that is the preliminary information that we have received. Now, naturally, when fire comes into contact with gas under those circumstances.
Now, according to Hassan Tampoli, the drivers should have been certified in proper handling of the gas and the tanker, even in the event of a leakage.
Now we haven't been able to establish contact with them. We've been speaking to those who can assist us to get in touch with them, and so far we haven't been successful.
Now, you mentioned that there is a requirement for drivers of such vehicles to be properly trained on how to do the offloading. Were this driver and his mate, were they properly trained?
Now, here's what happens. The training regime, when you bring your truck for renewal of your license, you have to attach all the necessary documentation, including training certificate, fire training certificates from the fire service of all your staff. You also have to indicate whether they have undergone any training during the period under review in order to qualify them to get, for your station itself to be given a license, or for the truck itself to be on the road. So the driver has to be qualified. The vehicle itself has to meet DVLA specifications before it can be accepted to do discharge under the auspices of the MPA.
So who regulates that? Who ensures that a driver and his mate have got the proper training in order for the company to be able to do this kind of work?
Those are licensing requirements when under the DVLA regulations and law. So they have to meet the DVLA requirement to be able to drive vehicles of a certain type. You know, you have drivers who should qualify to operate caterpillars, articulated trucks, LPG. So they have their own mechanisms for determining whether this person is qualified for license A, license B, and license C. So those ones are within the remit of the DVLA.
So the qualification to be able to properly offload the fuel, that would come under their DVLA licensing qualification?
They are required to, so it's a dual obligation. So you meet DVLA license requirements, and then you also meet the MP's license requirements. So you bring us all the documentation, we will vet them, and then if we find them acceptable, then we can grant the license.
Okay, so from the fact that they escaped when the gas started leaking, or they ran when the gas started escaping, that is not what their training should show them, right?
No, they are not required to do so. What they are required to do is to make sure that they safeguard the environment, first of all, by closing the valve before even calling for any reinforcements. In this case, the information available to us so far indicates that that was not the case.
They did not have the training.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, the other information that we have received from the chairman of the Tanker Drivers Union is to the effect that the driver used a cloth at some point to try to seal. No. An executive, sure, an executive of the Installers Association, okay, indicated that that is what happened. He used a cloth to use it as a valve.
A few details of what led to the actual spark of the flame on Saturday evening. Now, the Bureau of Public Safety is calling on governments to make public the findings of investigations into the causes of the explosion at Atomic Junction on Saturday. According to the Bureau, the constant recurrence of gas explosions in Ghana is as a result of our inability to learn from the mistakes of former events. Now, Saturday's explosion is the 8th of its kind since 2014, most of which resulted in loss of life. Government has announced that investigations are underway, as you heard from the CEO of NPA, Hassan Tampoli. But the Bureau believes it will be effective if the findings are made public. We've been joined in the studio by the Executive Director of the Bureau, Nanayao Akwada. Welcome, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Daniel, for having me.
Now, government has been talking tough on this issue, listening to Mr. Akwada, listening to the Vice President, listening to the President. What is your view on what you've heard so far?
It's not satisfactory. Unfortunately, not satisfactory. In the sense that we saw this coming. There are several others in line to happen. So we were not surprised. And we've not been surprised, if you like, we've not been disappointed at the way officialdom is handling this issue in particular.
So you saw it coming?
Yes, we saw it coming.
And you were not surprised?
We were not surprised.
Why didn't you say anything?
Because we saw it coming.
Why didn't you say anything when you saw it coming?
Well, we've said it several times since 2010. In your report, you indicated that since 2014. But since 2010, we've been calling for publication of accident reports so we could learn from it. We've been calling for publication of accident reports so we could all appreciate the width or the breadth of investigations. We've been calling for investigation reports so we could hold people down to recommendations that are made. We could understand how wide the recommendations are supposed to cover over the country. So we could hold people down and hold people accountable to what's the English? To no avail. Governments have successive governments have turned deaf ears to our call. And so this is where we find ourselves today.
But you could not access the information in any other way, since it could have helped you to avert, help avert these occurrences.
Well, I'll tell you, our only break has come through for the June 3rd incident. We got that report sometime this year, after 2 years, and that was illegal. That report that we got was a leak to us. That's how bad it is. An incident that occurs that takes the lives of over 150 people, deforming many and incapacitating many for life. It took us nearly 2 years to get an illegal copy of the report. Several requests have been made on the Interior Ministry, several requests have been made on other state agencies, and none of them even responded to our request. So that is how bad we have come. If accident reports will continue to sit on shelves of ministers and heads of state agencies, where are we going to draw the learning lessons from?
But is it just about making these reports public? Isn't there any other way?
No. It's not just about making accident reports public, but it's key to ensure that we do not get these incidents recurring. Furthermore, we were not disappointed at the response that came from officialdom. I was telling some other people on the platform that the president and the vice's response were rehearsed. It's all too familiar response that we've heard. We heard the good old Atamels speak like that. We heard the young president Mahama also speak like that. And it's no doubt that we are hearing affectionate Nanado also speak like that. It's rehearsed, and until we establish a clear departure from the way things are done, we are going to see these things recur, every now and then.
So you don't expect to see anything different, even after what the president and his vice president have said?
Well, I cannot say that. I cannot talk like that. What I have said is that the way everything has played out is more like what we call deja vu. Is playing out the same way as it has played out in times past. And so until we see a clear departure, number one, there are state agencies, there are people who were supposed to do some work who probably did not do it. There were people who were supposed to apply themselves to certain compliance rules who did not comply. What we wanted to hear officialdom speak to Ghanaians is that we, at the end of this investigation, are going to bring these people to book. So everybody sits on the alert. What we expect to see, that immediately we are going to see things that is going to translate into action at every filling station across the country, immediately. Because suddenly there are people who are saying, oh, the sighting, there are too many people around. I just heard the head of NPA, Mr. Tampoli, saying that they audited this facility sometime in April, and in July they served them compliance notice and all that. But in July to October, what sort of timelines did they give the people? What sort of interim measures were put in place? If there were no interim measures put in place, just serving them a notice, that is contrary to how safety is practiced. Someone must be held accountable.
He said the team visited the station afterwards to see if they had complied.
Yeah, that's afterwards. That makes the case even a lot more.
No, after the initial query was given them, they were given up to a certain date. On that day, the team was supposed to go there to go and do those checks.
Well, you see, Daniel, I'm
just telling you what.
Yes, absolutely. The point, I think we should narrow it down to this point. Whatever the regulator did or did not do should be captured in this report. At the end of the day, somebody or some people must be sanctioned, because obviously there has been a lapse somewhere. Obviously, someone flouted some rules somewhere. And until officialdom, I don't want to say the presidency, because he has a lot of people working for him, under him. Until officialdom begins to speak the language of accountability, we shall have these things occurring and recurring, and it will cost us as a nation lives. It will cost us as a nation our image. I don't know whether you've seen the images, going around on Al Jazeera and BBC and co. It's devastating. It doesn't paint a good picture of Ghana at all. And I think that somebody must rise up to this and say, never again, and mean that never again. We have ex-President Mills, may his soul rest in peace. He said never again after all the market fires that raged across the country.
Right. You made that point. I was listening clearly to one of these officials, yes, Abu Ramadan, the Deputy NADMO coordinator. One statement he made was that they are willing to act, and when they begin acting, no Ghanaian should come and say they should put on a human face. He was trying to create this impression that often government is very willing and able to take action, but some Ghanaians would often come out and say, J. Monka, we should put on a human face. Are we not purveyors of our own doom?
Abu Ramadan is my area mate. We grew up together at La Paz, but I think he will be living in a fool's paradise, with the greatest of respect, to think that if government takes a decision that will have such wide implications on businesses and welfare and all, nobody is going to ask them to tamper with a human face. Definitely somebody will. But leadership is judged by how robust and decisive and convincing you think you are taking your followers, and how resolute you are. That's how we judge leadership. And so they should bring it on and drive this country towards a point of sanity.
Now, speaking of regulation and state institutions doing what they must do, an 87-year-old woman has sued the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, over the sighting of a fuel station a few meters from her home at Tesano. The woman is also suing the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Town and Country Planning Department, Accra Metropolitan Assembly, AMA, and Allied Oil, which is the operator of the fuel station. The plaintiff argues she has lived in her home for half a century, and the sighting of the station poses a potential danger to her life. We have been joined via Skype by her lawyer, Nana Akwesi Ewa. Lawyer, thank you for joining us. Why have you and your client decided to take these institutions to court?
Well, thank you very much, my brother. My client instructed me to initiate this court action essentially because she feels threatened by the location of a fuel station some few meters away from her home. This is a house that she's been living in for over half a century, which is 50 years and beyond. And the construction began sometime last year, and they completed sometime in January this year and started operations this year. Now, her major beef or concern is that at the time they were putting up the fuel station, the whole place was barricaded, with all those aluminium roofing sheets, and the word round was that this was a supermarket that they were constructing. And so before she realized it was a fuel station, and so immediately she protested against it. To AMA, to NPA, to even the member of parliament of the area. Nothing was done about it, and so she was compelled to eventually proceed to court on the issue.
So what you're trying to make us understand is that before she could do anything significant during the construction, she realized that it was a filling station.
In fact, she only got to know it was a fuel station after they had finished constructing. Because during the construction, they had put up aluminium roofings and what have you to just cure whatever was going on within the premises. So if you were outside, you couldn't tell that this was a fuel station. And the word round was that
Well, we are speaking with lawyer Nana Akwesi Ewa, trying to make us understand the reason for him taking these institutions to court. He has taken a number of them in a suit. We'll try and understand why it is these institutions in particular he's taken to court. We'll also try and understand from him what are his grounds for taking these institutions to court. And so, lawyer, if you can hear me, we understand we have him again. If you can hear me, we understand you've taken the EPA, the NPA, Town and Country Planning Departments, the AMA. Are there any other institutions we may have missed, and why these in particular?
Okay, so yes, we've taken all these institutions to court, including the Ghana National Fire Service.
Okay.
Because you look at the laws and regulations governing the construction of fuel stations in this country, all these institutions that you have mentioned play a role. So you need to have a fire permit, you need to have an EPA permit, you need to have town and country planning zoning permit. AMA is also involved. Town and country planning falls under AMA. So all these institutions play a critical role for the construction of fuel stations in this country. And so as a result of that, we needed to take them all to court, because what we are saying is that they did not follow the right procedure in granting these permits. Take, for instance, the EPA. By law, they are supposed to conduct consultations. They are supposed to conduct consultations. If they are putting up a fuel station within your area, they are supposed to do an environmental impact assessment. And by that, they are supposed to do consultations with the residents within the area. It would interest you to know that this particular fuel station that is the subject matter of this suit, this 87-year-old lady was never consulted when just a few meters away from the fuel station.
Right.
Yes.
So
these are,
yeah, lawyer, thank you very much for making the time for us this morning on News. We're following your case with keen interest to find the resolution. Nana, I found you nodding and, agreeing with a number of things lawyer Nana Akwesi Ewa said there. On the back of all that has happened, is this what we need?
Absolutely. I'm very much encouraged. Yesterday I was on air on another station, and I was saying that one of the things that have also led to these successive failures is our inability to sue the state. And so we are calling on some lawyers to take up, the injured, take up the dead, and sue the state when these things happen. When the state eventually does the cost counting and they find out that as a result of lapses in the regulators' activities, as a result of lapses in occupiers' activities or non-compliance, the state is losing so much money. I think that we should see some, improvement in the way things are done.
Right. Thank you very much for that opinion. Let's take your final words on the back of all this.
Well, I think on the back of all these, as a bureau, as an organization that is leading the advocacy campaign for public safety, on the 1st of November this year, we are having the 4th Biennial National Safety Conference, a conference which Multimedia Group helped establish. In fact, it will interest you to know that the very first conference, the maiden edition, was carried live throughout the entire program. So this program is coming on again. We are bringing all the stakeholders, the people who matter, to come and speak to safety professionals, to come and speak to stakeholders, industry experts and all. So we want to encourage the public to sign up to this conference. They can visit our website, GhanaSafety.com, and register to participate in this conference so we can together secure Ghana.
Thank you very much. And Nane Alkwada is the Executive Director for the Bureau of Public Safety. Now, we'll stay with this issue because the headmistress of the Presbyterian Boys Senior High School, Presec Legon, Lady Queen Asiedu Akrofi, has dispelled fears students have been injured in Saturday's multiple gas explosion that occurred close to her school. The explosions at Madina-Atomic Junction, a few meters from the popular boys' school, raised concerns about the safety of the students. On the night of the incident, Komla Adum spoke to a parent who had come in to check on her ward.
How did you hear about the incident and what exactly are you here to do?
I was in church when I heard the incident, so I'm here to check about my son.
So you didn't receive a phone call from your son, but you heard people talking?
I hear people were calling me. So that is the reason why I'm here, to go and check on him.
Which year is your son?
He's in Form 3.
Okay. Which course is he reading?
Science.
And are you hopeful you find him in there, because we were told that many of the students have...
Oh yes. I'm now going inside to go and check whether I'll find him or not, but I hope they are safe. So I'm just going.
But did you make a phone call to maybe his housemaster, for example, to find out?
I called the housemaster, but the phone was busy. That is why I came here to go and check. I called him several times while I was in church. I called him several times. The phone was busy. So I'm here just to check on him.
Many thanks to you for your time. So that was one of the parents of a ward here at Presby Boys Senior High School, who she tells us that she had the information while she was in church that the incident had happened, and so she's rushing here to check if her son is safe. He is a Form 3 student here at Presec Legon.
Truly worried parents there. Now, Lady Queen Asiedu Akrofi says the students who left the school premises have been contacted through their parents and have been given by close of day today to return. Now, we'll be following up on that particular issue, but my colleague Bernice Abubedu has joined me in the studio because, Bernice, so many organizations have something to say about this.
Exactly, Daniel.
Yes.
You remember on the day of the explosions, it was quite difficult to get government or any official to speak. But the day after this, they sent in a statement, obviously starting by expressing their condolences to families who had lost deceased people. And they gave the statistics of the number of persons dead, and it still is at least 7 people. But now we know that about 2 people or 4 people have been added to the number of injured. Now we have 136. But at the time, the Ministry of Information statement said 132. Now, the most important part of this statement that we cannot overemphasize is the fact that they mentioned that any injured person who may have been evacuated from the scene on their own should kindly inform the Ghana Police Service of their location. And they also go on to mention a NADMO help station at the scene, and they leave a number there for anybody who may need some help, 0299 35 0000. Then the LPG marketing company also released a statement after this unfortunate incident. But
because, of course, the gas that was being discharged was LPG.
Exactly. So they come to talk about this that has been probably the center of debate, that has to do with how safety regulations are followed at some of these fuel stations. Now, let me just read some extracts of this statement from the LPG Marketing Companies Association of Ghana. Now, they say it's unfortunate that previous reports concerning similar explosions have not been thoroughly analyzed and put before the public. It's also important to emphasize that most of these explosions, and they quote, about 90% occurred during discharge from truck tanks. And, well, this implies poor attention to safety measures during discharge. And this coming from the LPG Marketing Companies Association of Ghana is really disturbing. But they say it's unfortunate, and they hope that all authorities and stakeholders in the industry would concentrate on creating a robust safety regime.
This is corroborated by what Hassan Tampoli, CEO of NPO, was saying just a moment ago, that these drivers tried to even tie the valve, the leaking valve, with a cloth. And then instead of turning off the discharging valves, they just run off for their own lives.
Which tells you they may not have all these safety procedures at their fingertips. But they also expressed their condolences, the LPG Marketing Companies Association of Ghana, I mean. And the NDC released a statement, but I must add that some statements were also released not in this traditional format. We had President Akufo-Addo releasing a video statement on Facebook and also tweeting about the incident and expressing his condolences to families. Former President John Dramani Mahama did the same, and a couple others on social media, and that's not really traditional. But let's return to the traditional press releases and statements. The NDC released a statement, and they actually have congratulated the Ghana National Fire Service, the Ghana Police Service, the National Disaster Management Organization, security agencies, the media, and all persons who helped to arrest the inferno and prevent it from causing much more havoc than it did. And they've also thanked all the hospitals, and also, yes, they've expressed their condolences, and they say that they are assured in hope that the government of Ghana will do all it takes to bring relief to the victims and families of those who've been hard hit by the explosion. Let me just end by another member of the NDC, Professor Joshua Alabi. It's interesting because he starts his press release by saying once again Accra is in shock and weeps over the loss of precious lives from collective negligence. He actually comes on to say that most of us express our condolences, yet no radical corrective action is taken to improve the situation. After he says this, he expresses his condolence. So you can see the order in which he writes.
An interesting progression. It's even more interesting that he will decide to release a statement on his own.
Yes.
Besides the NDC, which I think that those on the political desk will have a lot to say about.
Exactly. But he ends by saying enough is enough, we need action now. And he's called on all well-meaning Ghanaians to join the call for action.
Thank you very much, Bernice Abu-Bedu, for bringing us those details of the various statements that have come as a result of Saturday's tragic incident.